Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mom with Moms podcast. We are here on a beautiful, beautiful summer day in Red Bank with our guest today, the owner of Head Over Heels Gymnastics, Jason Bauer. Thank you
How you
for
doing,
joining.
Kate? Thanks for having me here.
I'm excited to have you on. I've been working with your team for, it feels like 2 years, but it has not been that long.
Yeah, it's been about 8 months.
Yeah. Okay. You're like, it's only been 8 months.
No, but we've done so much together. It feels
Yes.
a lot longer than 8 months.
I've worked with, a lot of great partners within our organization, and it's been such a pleasure working with them. You've such a great team.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I got good people. That's how I'm successful. Like, my big claim to fame is I just got great people around me. I got lucky.
It's true. Like, they're really creative. Really genuine, I just enjoy meeting with them. So
I appreciate that. And they have nothing but great things to say about the Mom with Moms as well. And we've gotten so much return already. We're excited for even more.
Yeah, good. That's great. So Head Over Heels Gymnastics is, I knew it, growing up in Middletown. Right? You also have a location in Parlin.
Yeah, we currently have 4 locations. The flagship original location started actually in Old Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, let me correct that. It was 1981 in Freehold in the basement of a church.
Okay.
Gail Archer at the time started it, and she evolved it to a location in Old Bridge right off Route 516, and then it went to Sayreville on Bordentown Avenue, and now the location that we're at on Cheesequake Road in Parlin. Back in 2013, we moved into that location.
Okay.
The Middletown location, we started back in 1996, right after the Summer Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started working with Gail in 1995.
Was it always across from
It
Outback?
has always been there.
Okay.
That location has been phenomenal for us.
Mm-hmm. It's great. It's huge
yeah.
space.
I mean, we were there when it was Thornberry's, and now it's Bassett Furniture in front of us.
Oh, so Thornberry's moved.
Yes, Thornberry's moved further down on Route 35.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, no, I was there as a young guy in 1996, digging the pits, installing the tumble track. I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow.
And then in COVID, we acquired our 3rd location. Gail and I together as partners. We took over what used to be Middlesex Gymnastics Academy.
Okay.
Together, and then in 2022, Gail and her husband Ron decided it was time for them to retire,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife and I decided to jump all in, purchase, acquire, and we took over Head Over Heels, continued a lot of the same things today, and then we've added the 4th location, which is now in Shrewsbury, and we have our sights on a few more.
HOH2.
HOH2. We came up with a little concept for a boutique. We have an entire character theme around it where it's around, Kipper the kangaroo and he's got his friends, Taz, Frog, Panda, kids love it,
Yep.
And it really dives into the foundation of everything that kids need to learn today.
Mm-hmm.
Preschool gymnastics, preschool ninja. We basically teach the entire child. My wife is an occupational therapist, and her specialty is children with special needs, but her expertise in early childhood development, and what kids need from a foundational perspective, and then our expertise of my team with the gymnastics background, it's just a great synergy.
Yeah. I'd say all the time there are so many resources in our community that I wish that I had access to when my kids were young. And I can't believe I'm the mom that's saying that, where you're like, when my kids were little, or it's fleeting, it goes so fast. But all of this is true, right?
Yeah.
All of the above. So when my daughter was little, there was like a play place that had opened next to Kohl's in Holmdel, and it was really just like a play cafe.
Mm-hmm.
A very good concept with coffee, and I think I had her birthday party there when she was 2. All the moms were excited about it because, especially like when the weather's crappy, like you really just need to get that out of the house. You need something to do,
Burn
right?
that energy.
Burn that energy, right? So when you were opening HOH2, which was around the same time that we started working together.
That was actually the impetus for us connecting. It was, we came across your social media. And I was talking with my son who drives a lot of our strategic partnerships, and Amanda, who runs up our marketing, I'm like, we got to connect with this Mom with Moms group. I don't know what it's all about. And that was kind of where it started, because HOH2 is literally in your backyard here.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where the ball started rolling.
Yeah. And I just knew, when you told me, and I'll say, like, I think this is really great, but like I know now kind of, what's going to work and what's not.
Right.
And I was like, it's such a need, right? So it's great that it's available to the moms of little ones. And I think we just did an event.
We did an
there.
open house there, and it was a great turnout. We had, I think the youngest, we actually had a 6-month-old in there crawling around.
Really?
And we had, and then in the later session we had, kids who were 5. The design for HOH2 is a 6-month to 6-year-old. It's a less intimidating space than our larger facilities, because it comes in at about 2,400 square feet. So they don't feel overwhelmed, and it's not, it's not too much for them to come in. It's not overstimulating, and we can keep the numbers a little bit more intimate for the parents and the kids, so they don't feel like, oh my God, there's 100 kids running around in here. We got our competitive team kids, the big kids, the little kids. This really allows us to focus on that demographic in a much more safer and beneficial environment.
Okay. We love it there, and I'm excited to see what happens with
we got some cool things coming.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's talk about gymnastics.
Sure.
One, I don't know if this has ever come up. I think it probably has, because I don't know why I wouldn't have brought it up, but I loved gymnastics when I was growing up. I was always upside down. I was, if you ask my mom, like, what I was doing when I was between the ages of, like, probably 5 to, I think, maybe 15-ish, I was doing cartwheels, whatever. So I'm tall.
Yep.
And I just, like, I loved it, but I also hated it because I was not the most flexible kid. So I could, like, never get the back handspring. Like, it just never came naturally to me, but believe me, I tried. So I did gymnastics, but not out of gymnastics center. I did it more of, like, out of a dance studio.
Yep, acro a lot of times.
Acro. Yeah, I did acro. So so I did that for, like, years and years, and it was definitely, like, one of my favorite things. But I always envied the girls that, like, were much more, like, I guess, limber and just were able to be a bit more flexible than I ever was. I love the sport. I love watching it. And tell me, like, what it is about gymnastics that gets, kids into it, what you would tell moms if they have a child that's interested in gymnastics,
Sure.
because there are, a lot of different facilities. And like you said, there's acro, like, where,
Well, my first question is, how much time do I have?
Okay.
Because this is something that we can all go on very long. Well, ironically, at Head Over Heels, we're not just gymnastics.
Okay.
We do have, in 2 of our facilities, we have 2 full functioning dance studios that do acro, hip hop, jazz, tap, you name it, they provide it all.
Okay.
And we've now have, it's still new, not to us, but to the general consumer, Ninja, which is the evolution of gymnastics, and I'll touch on that a little bit. But gymnastics, it's been said since the early 1970s, it is the foundation for all sport. Anything that you do in gymnastics is transferable to another sport.
Interesting.
All 3 of my children did gymnastics when they were younger.
Okay.
I now have a son who is 6'3", depending on the day, played basketball at a very high level. Exactly. But he did gymnastics when he was younger.
Okay.
I have a 20-year-old daughter who was a very high-level volleyball player.
Oh.
Did competitive gymnastics when she was younger. And I now have our youngest is a 16-year-old, and she is a high-level soccer player, and all of them foundations in gymnastics. Their abilities on the fields and on the courts were basically learned in there. They learned how to fall, flip, be mobile, agile, change directions. Knowing their body awareness is something that you pick up in gymnastics that you don't pick up in other sports, because we learn from such a young age in gymnastics how to turn upside down. Inversion is very important. Crossing midline, making sure that they know how to, like, use both hands, not just favor one versus the other. And you can look anywhere on the internet today and search high-level Olympians in multiple sports, and they all say, I want my kid in gymnastics, because it builds that foundation to be successful in other sports.
Wow.
My sister was a competitive swimmer, started in gymnastics. And you talk about being tall. I'm 6'1". I competed gymnastics through college.
Did you?
So yes, most people look at me and go, "There's no way." And I go, and the question I always get is, "Can you do an iron cross?" Yes, I used to be able to do one. It hurt like crazy.
Okay.
Because I had a 6'1" wingspan, and most of the people you see doing rings are about 5'4".
That's what I was going to ask. They're mostly short. Yeah.
It's a very different feel on these taller bodies. And
Why is that though? Is it just?
It's physics. You know, like when you look at the width and then okay. I don't want to get into a science class, but having a 6-foot wingspan and supporting yourself, you know, with your arms fully extended to the side puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Okay.
My specialty was in pommel horse because that's where my height was an advantage.
Oh, right.
But, you know, so my wife was a competitive gymnast all the way through college as well. You know, she's 5'9".
Oh, yeah, she's tall.
Yeah, you know, and I've coached other gymnasts, 5'9", 5'10", that are tall. Now, my wife was a tall gymnast back in the day when the bars didn't go as high and as wide. You know, now they make the bars high and wide that it really doesn't matter as much.
Oh.
And then at the collegiate level, you know, a lot of those girls are, you know, 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". It's becoming more commonplace because the equipment modifications have allowed them to stay in the sport longer and debunk the myth that you can't be tall and be a gymnast.
Okay.
Tall gymnasts actually have beautiful lines when they compete. You know, when they do their dance, when they do turns on balance beam, they're absolutely gorgeous to watch.
Right.
On the men's side, you know, taller gymnasts are still harder because, you know, it's compact power. You know, so you're, you know, 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", like those guys are extremely powerful.
Right.
And the things that they do are just mind-blowing. I was actually just at USA Gymnastics Championships this past weekend in New Orleans, and we saw the best of the best this year, and the things they do, it's awe-inspiring.
Wow.
I can't believe I still did the same sport that they do to this day. Like, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
But the benefits of gymnastics is, I tell a lot of parents when they come in, we are a sport of failure. You know, we are the only sport where you fail 99 times and you keep getting up again and again and again just to get that one success where, whether it's a handstand, a cartwheel, or a major competitive skill, we deal with failure so much that that's what they're learning in life. Like, in life, you fail a lot.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with that?
Right.
In gymnastics, you get back up and you try again.
Yeah.
You gotta get up and try again. So it's kind of harsh to say that, but that's the reality of what we do. You know, kids come into our programs, and either they're weak in their core, or their coordination is off, or their confidence is low. You're gonna fall down that entire class, and then the next class you come back again, and you fall one time less. And then one time less, and then one less, and now you're starting to get skills, and you can see their confidence build, and they're like, ooh, watch me run across the beam, let me show you my cartwheel, let me do my this. So it teaches them how to fight through, follow through. It's fighting that failure.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best way I can sum up what we do overall. The benefits to, you know, socialization are there because a lot of this stuff isn't happening in the schools anymore. You know, schools have become very much,
I know.
You know, obviously they're there to educate, but back in our day we had phys ed, and phys ed was
Every day.
a lot different than it is now. So parents come to us because they want to fill that need.
Yeah.
You know, the socialization part, post-COVID, we live in a different world than we did beforehand. You know, so it's a lot more of interacting, waiting your turn, you know, learning how to pay attention in an environment where there's so much stimulation. You know, because when you're in the gym, you hear the noise, you got the music, you got other kids running around. There's so many things going on.
Right.
So we provide a lot of different things outside of just the sport of gymnastics.
Okay.
You know, and the expert on that one would be all of my staff and my wife, not me. I'm the business guy at this point. But my program directors have done a phenomenal job creating curriculum, challenging students. You know, whether it's someone who wants to come in and just have fun for 45, 50 minutes a week, or that one kid who's dying to learn that cartwheel or the back handspring, or, you know, or they want to be a competitive gymnast.
Right.
We provide it all.
Interesting. So tell me what Ninja is.
Okay, so Ninja started probably in the early 2000s.
Okay.
There were some innovators. You know, I'm going to tip my hat to a woman named Casey Wright. Casey Wright started something called Ninja Zone, which we are a member of. She basically saw a need because boys gymnastics was disappearing. And she needed to find a way to, how do I keep more boys in my gymnastics programs? Because, you know, men's gymnastics, boys gymnastics is not the most popular. with so many other opportunities in sports, boys were kind of just drifting more and more football, baseball, basketball, hockey, name your sport, lacrosse, doesn't really matter. We were losing them in our industry.
Okay.
So Casey, being the innovator that she is, out in the middle of Indiana, Wright's Gymnastics, they've also been around forever, started something called Ninja Zone. Mm-hmm. And it exploded. It was growing faster than she could keep up with it.
Wow.
And basically what it was to strip it down, it's obstacle courses. Basically you created these movements, jumping over, under, I think her inspiration and some of the other innovators, it was from parkour, mm-hmm. which is basically French for free running.
Okay.
So there was these parkour people all over the world who were just jumping on and off things, over things, under things. And these people said, hey, that looks a lot like what we do in our gyms, and we can do it safer. Mm-hmm. We have the foam matting, we have the pads, we have the foam pits, the trampolines, the coaches who can spot and teach these things, run and flip off the walls, all these kind of cool things.
Yep.
That's how Ninja started.
Okay.
And so Ninja Zone is a company, and there's a bunch of other ones, but we partnered with Ninja Zone because they have a great curriculum that starts with, and now they have Little Ninja, which we have at our HOH2 location. So it starts at, 2 and 3 year olds. Mm-hmm. And it evolves all the way up through high levels. So, we have kids who do the run up the wall backflips. They can, vault over things. And I jokingly say it's sloppy gymnastics. They don't care about your form. They care about how fast can you move from one to another, how fast can you go from being on the ground to springing up, jumping in the air, flipping over this, swinging on that. So it's basically like free running inside of a safer environment.
Oh, I love it.
And then they can go and be on the playground and do all the crazy stuff. But they've learned how to do it properly.
Right.
It just may not look like gymnastics, but it's still the same fundamentals of gymnastics. You have to learn how to control your core. You have to learn how to direct your shoulders, tuck your head when you roll, do certain things.
Right.
So gymnastics became the experts of the ninja world. And then if you ever watch American Ninja Warrior, some of the most successful people, and the first one I'm going to bring up is Casey Catanzaro, who was a former collegiate gymnast at Towson.
Okay.
She was the first female Ninja Warrior to successfully go on and compete in advance.
Oh.
Former collegiate gymnast. It's all grip strength, core strength. And then you had, I know one of the Ham brothers has done it. I know several other gymnasts, because their overall physical strength is a natural for that ninja course.
Right.
Not to say others aren't. Like the other ones that are very successful at those things are rock climbers, because they have that same core strength and that same hand strength.
Okay.
But as far as, the ninja parkour, the flipping and all the fun stuff, yeah, that's all gymnastics at its core.
Interesting.
And it was a great way for us to keep retention of boys. But it has now evolved that it is just as popular on both boys and girls. It's gender neutral to us.
Okay.
When we first started ninja classes, we had, ninja boys, ninja girls, and a lot of that was driven by parent customers. Like, my son's not going to want to be with girls, or my daughter's not going to be with boys.
Yeah.
Then we kind of said, well, that's kind of silly. It's the same setups either way.
Right.
Now it's and that was years ago. I mean, we haven't had that in, I think, about a decade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now it's based on age, ability, skill, and our ninja director, Daniel's doing a phenomenal job. We have ninja missions where they come in and they get challenges every so often and they level up, and it's this whole program. So yeah, we're excited to see him continue to grow that program. And Little Ninja is just the cutest thing ever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so great. I wish that was around when my
we
son
all
was
did.
little.
I mean, that was just fun.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I think we actually did ninja on the playgrounds when we were younger. We just didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
it was like,
right.
hey, I dare you to go do that.
Totally. Yeah, that's right.
That was the original ninjas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those steel metal playgrounds in the 80s that,
Yes. Yes. We all got injured on those. My hands were always filled with lots of calluses.
Absolutely. But it was fun.
It was fun. I know. We could go on. I've talked about this on the podcast, how, we were in the creek and all that. It's true. Like you hear like, oh, the 90s summer and whatever. But like, it is true. We were like outside all the time.
Yep.
Just doing whatever because there was nothing else to do.
No, we got creative with less.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. And yeah, I've had this conversation with my daughter all summer because you want to go in the pool? Like it's like they just don't like being outside as much. It's bizarre. But anyway. Yeah. All right. So gymnastics. When they are young, right? A lot of the kids are kind of trying different classes, right? And they're going into different things. It seems now kids more get into their thing earlier, right? Yes, yes and no, or maybe they'll be into something for bulk amount of years and then maybe change in middle school and find like a sport that they really like or whatever. But it does seem like parents are all in, right, with like certain extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
Is there, and there's no wrong or right. I think parents that like are, yes, let's get them into competitive everything and we'll go, pedal to the metal, and that's great, right? And it's a great routine for kids and whatever. But then on the flip side, there are parents that are looking for activities for their kids to be, like you said, be active, to be involved and just kind of learn different skill sets, but not
Right.
have to compete.
Competitive gymnastics.
Yes. So tell me about this world.
Competitive gymnastics is a very, it's a very demanding world. And in about 25 years ago, in the state of New Jersey, a group of coaches got together and created what's called the JOGA League. It stands for Jersey Optional Gymnastics Association.
Okay.
Actually, I think it had a name prior to that, but then they switched it to that. And it was actually started, one of the flagship people who started was Mary Milshanowski, who was the former owner of Devlin Gymnastics, which is now Epic. Okay, so Mary got together with a group of people, and they created this league, JOGA, as an alternative to the highest level competitive gymnastics. They wanted an opportunity for kids who wanted to compete, but not just in gymnastics. It gave them an opportunity to also play field hockey, lacrosse, swim, basketball. It took the intensity of competing gymnastics, which we all knew it to be, a 20, 25 hour a week, 5-6 day commitment, year round. And it gave them an opportunity to have another vice.
Okay.
So JOGA has been a wildly successful program in the state of New Jersey for, like I said, about 25 years now. And I think in the state there's well over 1,000 kids who compete in that league alone. So we knew there was a need for something that allowed kids to do multiple sports, because gymnastics up until that time was all or nothing. If you wanted to be a high-level competitive gymnast, you started when you were 4 and 5 years old on the pre-team. You would do that for 2 years, then you would compete at the compulsory level and then work your way up, but all you ever knew was gymnastics.
Okay.
Eat, sleep, live, and breathe. That was it. If you wanted to be at the highest level at the end. And that doesn't mean that kids couldn't compete, a little bit differently. I'm just talking at the extreme end. So JOGA found a need, and they solved that problem. USA Gymnastics got wise, shortly thereafter, and created what's called the Excel program, XCEL. And it mirrors kind of like JOGA, but it's nationally based.
Okay.
So every state now has it. There are now more kids competing in Excel gymnastics than the developmental levels, which is the highest level competing, because there's such a need for, my kid also plays soccer, my kid also does this, my kid also does that.
Yeah.
So it's giving parents the flexibility to be like, okay, I want my kid to be a competitive gymnast, but she's also talented at basketball. So now you can have both.
So it's not as time consuming is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Like at our gym, I think we actually just increased from 9 hours. I think we max out our Excel program at about 12 hours a week.
Okay.
Whereas our level 8, 9, and 10 competitive kids, those are the kids that obviously have their eyes set on competing collegiately at some level. They're doing anywhere from 18 to 24 hours a week. It's different level of intensity.
Okay.
The competitions are a little bit different. But
Are
Excel,
the competitions still something you have to travel to?
Yes,
Okay.
Excel, typically Excel, you can travel anywhere in the country you want. Everybody's got Excel competitions. But,
I see.
But we mainly stay like New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. Like we stay within a very short range because, again, the purpose of that program is not the same as the other one.
Got it.
Whereas our other kids, I think this year they're flying to Nashville. They'll go to Las Vegas. They'll go to Florida. They go wherever the big competitions are. Usually where the colleges are coming to recruit kids.
Right.
It's just like in any other sport. It's like other sports call them showcases. We call them invitationals. You go to an invitational, and depending on the invitational, usually there's going to be college coaches there, observing, recruiting, looking for the next kid.
Right.
But Excel gives them that same opportunity, to compete at these events, but still have other vices.
Right.
As I mentioned before, my kids did 3 other sports. My son was all in on basketball. It was AAU basketball. It was training with private coaches. It was doing all this, this crazy stuff. And my daughter with volleyball, same thing. And my current daughter, my youngest daughter now, with the soccer. It's all they want to do. We didn't drive them to that. They made the choice. And then my wife and I said, we drive the bus, we pay the bills, you got to do the work.
Right.
Gymnastics is really no different now that there are options. So if you truly just want to be a competitive gymnast at the highest level, we got you covered.
Okay.
If you want to do gymnastics and you want to play field hockey, lacrosse, soccer, basketball, we got you covered. If you want to come in and just do recreation and learn your cartwheel, we have that for you as well.
So that was my question. So you have a class, they don't have to compete.
We have pure recreation. We have pure competitive. We have, it's really whatever pathway you want to take, we provide all those opportunities for you.
Interesting. Okay.
And the majority of them are of the 3,000 plus students that we have across all of our locations, less than 1% are competitive.
Okay.
So from a business perspective, obviously we want to make sure that those 2,900 kids are taken care of to the best we can.
Okay.
But the competitive part, I'm a competitor by nature. I mean, I like I said, I competed at a Division I level. Most of my staff, are all highly competitive people. We have that desire, to provide.
Right.
But we also understand there's a lot more to life. And we want to make sure we're providing everything that we can to everybody.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tell me about, ages
6 months to 18.
To 18, okay.
Yeah.
So how involved are you with the competitive team in the high school years in terms of helping them get recruited, if that is their goal? And then what are I don't want to say statistics, but what does it look like for a college age, kid who is competing in school? What are the benefits to going through this process from the perspective of a parent that perhaps didn't live or grow up in this world? And I've just went through this a little bit in my world with softball and with my stepdaughter and stuff. And so it was just so new to me. I didn't know anything about it. And we went through all of the, trips and the competition, and now she's off to Columbia in next month. And she's very excited she'll be playing there. So, but it was a whirlwind, I'd say, for me. It was a learning curve. My husband played for the Houston Astros, and he played in college,
Right.
and was recruited, and I think his junior year, and played professionally, mostly on the minors for 12 years, and retired when I met him. So he clearly was much more versed than I was.
Sure.
But for a parent that's like, all right, why do I need to do this? And I know my kid wants to, to compete, or they want, but it's time, it's a commitment, it's an investment, it's a lot of things, and you want to give your kids everything, right?
Sure.
So
as parents, we want to give them the world.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because I'm sure you get asked this a lot.
Well, ironically, I did coach collegiately for many years, and recently I just resigned, stepped away from. I don't know, pick the word you want.
Taking a break.
Taking a break. I was the executive director for women's collegiate gymnastics.
Okay.
And in that role, I worked with the NCAA closely, USA Gymnastics, and all 87 women's collegiate programs. I was the associate head coach at a Division I university in Ohio for 5 years. I was also an assistant coach for Rutgers University way back in the late 90s.
Wow.
So I've been in that space.
Yep.
Right now currently recruiting my 16-year-old daughter for soccer, so I get it.
Yeah.
I've actually done recruiting presentations, so I get asked this all the time.
Okay.
What I can tell parents is it's like eating an elephant. It's just one bite at a time. You look at the whole thing of recruiting, and it's very overwhelming. Recruiting is marketing.
Yeah.
It's basic marketing, and you can help your kids, but they still need to be part of the process. They need to understand geography matters. I want to go to school in California. Okay, let's get on a plane and show you how much that really takes to do.
Right.
It's not like you're just going to get on the car and drive 3 hours, to a school. Like it's a day, to do that kind of trip. And when you want to come home for a home cooked meal or get your laundry done or something, it's a day coming back. And then, by the way, you lose 3 hours coming. Like, there's a lot to it. So usually in those conversations, you kind of get to the reality of, okay, maybe I want to go far away from home, but maybe not that far away from home. Or you have the kids who like, what, I don't want to be further than 3 hours away. So you have to have those conversations first. Look at the geography, and then there's always the $1 million question. if you had that injury that prohibited you from ever doing this sport again, do you still want to be at that university?
Oh.
And that's the toughest question to have,
Okay.
you know, because a lot of kids, you know, developmentally, kids have multiple phases. At phase one in their sporting career, usually when they're younger, they want to go to the Olympics. You know, they want to be the next, like when we were growing up, you know, all girls wanted to be Nadia,
Yep.
you know, in gymnastics. You know, then they wanted to be Michael Phelps in swimming, or they want to be Michael Jordan in basketball. Pick your superstar, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So when you're up until about, you know, 8, 9, 10, that's the dream. Then they hit a point where now they're committing to the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Now they start looking maybe a step below that. I want to compete for the University of Utah in gymnastics, or I want to be Georgia, Alabama. Pick your big program. You know, that's that 10 to 15-year-old.
Okay.
Then they hit the point of reality of like, okay, now this is becoming real. College is 3 years from now. Maybe I'm not at that level. Maybe I'm at a level where, you know, it's a mid-major program, or Division threes, which are phenomenal education, great environments, you know, but they get knocked down a lot because it's not the D1 or bust mentality. So you go from the fantasy to and then you hit the reality, and you got to manage that as a parent all along. And I made mistakes with my son, and I own those. You know, he was like, I want to do this, this, and this when it came to basketball. And a lot of that transition of, you know, his 14, 15-year-old was, you know, you're not doing this or you're not doing this. And I stopped listening because I was pushing for what I thought he wanted.
Okay.
But I wasn't reading the signs, and I wasn't listening to the, you know, the cues. You know, and as a parent, you know, we pushed too much.
Okay.
You know, and I have to own that, you know. And then with my daughter, we did a better job. You know, we were listening a little bit, you know, and she played again. She played volleyball at a high level, you know, in New Jersey, and did well with it. You know, she was the bottom of the top team, the top of the middle team, like, so she kind of didn't know where her fit was. And we did a few recruiting trips, and, you know, we went to, you know, some D1, some D2, and she looked at us and she goes, I just don't think I want to do it anymore. Now, as much as my wife and I were like, oof, you know, but that was her choice.
Okay.
And we supported her with it, and it was the right choice for her.
Okay.
You know, and now with Jordan, our youngest, you know, at 16, she's like, no, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And, you know, we've been recruiting with her heavily and dealing with the marketing. You know, it's a full-time job.
It's a lot.
You know, and the benefit that I do know what I'm doing is great for her, but I can only imagine what other parents go through. You know, not understanding like how to email a coach, how often to email, what do I say, how do I interact with this?
Like use Twitter for them too?
Twitter and Instagram. You know, Facebook's for the old people, so some of the coaches are on there, some are not.
Okay.
You know, they basically jokingly say, well, Facebook's for old people, Dad. I go, well, I guess I'm old. You know, that's just the way I roll. Majority of them are on Instagram. A lot are on Twitter. It's really a personal preference. So you kind of cover both, you know, have a presence there. You know, make sure your social media is clean. Even your fake Instagram account, which we can all find in a matter of 30 seconds. So a lot of these kids who think they're pretty clever with their Finsta accounts, we can find them.
Right.
Because that's kind of what we did as college coaches. If I was interested in you, I would research everything about you. Like, I would click on you, then I click on your friends. Like, I would start creating a dossier on the athletes and kind of get a gauge for what kind of person are you. You know, your 1 minute video got me interested in your athleticism. The next 90 minutes I spend on you is how do you interact with your coaches, your teammates, you know, what are you like in school, what's your extracurricular activities, you know, what kind of music do you like? And not that I make decisions on that, but I'm trying to frame of who you are. You know, I tell a lot of people when I do my presentations that I actually saw a kid do a tweet one time that goes, oh, I got to go to practice. Like, literally tweeted that. So, of course, I was no longer interested, because if you publicly said you didn't want to go to practice, you know, what are you telling me? You know, those are some red flags.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of things that kids do on social media because that's the generation they're in right now. Everything is for consumption of the public, and they want their likes and their followings. But, you know, I'm sure kids have heard this a million times. If you like it, share it, or comment on it, it's as if you said it yourself.
Yeah.
So be careful with some of the song lyrics or some of the movie scenes or what. Yeah, it might be funny in the moment, but it can have a long-term impact if you're truly trying to get to that next level.
Yeah.
So having a clean social media presence is very important.
So important.
Yeah.
What percentage of kids do you find are competing, I guess with any sport,
Sure.
that are using it as a tool to get into a school?
All of them.
All of them.
If you're not, you're missing the boat.
Okay. So not a big percentage are using are like just laser focused into getting onto a team because they want to play.
Yeah. Well, now we have the whole problem of the NCAA shifted the rules to roster caps.
Okay.
So sports are now. This is a much different direction of a conversation because the NCAA just came out and said, okay, for a sport like gymnastics, we went from 12 full scholarships, now they can offer 20.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer just limited it to 28.
Okay.
Football, I don't remember what the number is. I'm not as intimate with those, obviously, soccer and gymnastics, because that's my world. But they put caps in. So that's going to affect the number of kids they can take. Then you take the transfer portal into consideration. Mm-hmm. So you have kids just saying, oh, I committed here, I stayed there for a year, I didn't like it, well, I'm going to jump ship over there.
Okay.
So now colleges are recruiting out of the transfer portal. So you're losing opportunities for those up-and-coming kids because there's all these extra kids, quote unquote, that can't fit in the roster cap. Now they need to find homes somewhere else.
Oh.
So if you had 34 girls on your soccer team and you can only carry 28, 6 girls got to go.
Oh.
So where are they going to go? So if I'm a college coach, well, those are 6 kids that actually have playing time experience. Maybe I want to recruit them versus a high school junior who has no college experience.
Oh.
So there's a very weird shift in how recruiting is going because of these roster caps. So we don't know what's going to happen yet because this is the first year it's starting. And the athletes basically countersued, and now some of them are being grandfathered in. So it's going to take a few years for this to phase in. So even that's going to change. But if you look at the sport of gymnastics, we went from 12 to 20 at the Division I level. Mm-hmm. So that means the top programs can now take 8 more kids.
Oh.
Where do you think they're going to take those 8 kids from? From programs, they're going to take the top kids from the mid-major programs, so those kids are all going to move up. So there's going to be impacts in a lot of different places. How it's going to impact recruiting, none of us know.
Okay.
We are all waiting to figure out how this is going to go ourselves.
That and the way that the kids can be paid now.
Yes, NIL is a whole new thing.
Yeah. So that's like taking shift too, right? Yeah.
Years ago, they started what's called cost of attendance because athletes weren't allowed to get jobs while they were competing and on scholarship. Mm-hmm. So the collegiate programs came up with what's called cost of attendance. So it was extra money they could give athletes that were already on scholarship. Okay. That was basically to cover meals, travel, whatever they needed to spend that on. So cost of attendance was the first step. Then NIL happened. And once NIL happened, it became the wild, wild west.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
And, if you look at the sport of gymnastics, obviously everybody knows Olivia Dunn, who, by the way, is a Jersey girl from up north.
Okay.
Went to LSU. She is probably the highest NIL paid athlete in women's sports.
Wow.
So she capitalized on her social media fame, her athleticism, and, is obviously doing phenomenal with it. That's an anomaly. That's not the norm. And people are thinking, oh, my kid's going to... No, that she struck at the right time and had the right presence. Not everyone's going to make $10 million in NIL money in the sport of gymnastics.
Are there kind of like I guess I don't even know how to phrase it, but and we're getting a little bit off. I'm just curious. Are the colleges getting involved? So like,
yes.
So because like for me, right? Like I work with the local moms network, and it's like kind of a my run my business. However, if I started another business and then started advertising in it, like there's some gray area there. So how is that?
NIL is basically you're hiring a student athlete.
Okay.
So any company right now could go to Rutgers University, and go to women's gymnastics, men's soccer, pick your sport, doesn't matter, and say, I want to hire that athlete to do this. That's an NIL. So you
Okay.
pay them, they provide a service. Usually it's a autograph session or
But
something
it has to
like
go
that.
through the college. It can't go through the student.
No.
Oh,
It-
so that's
yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
But
how
some
are
are
they-
yes, some are no.
Okay.
Some universities are stepping in, and there's actually legislation coming that it's
yeah.
going to have to go through the universities.
Well, because it does make sense. Like, they're representing the school, but then
Right.
if they're taking brand deals that maybe perhaps would be like maybe that the athletics department has a partnership with Nike or whatever,
Correct.
right? So there's kind
They're
of
all
like a
having
lot
to
of-
be approved by the
Yeah,
university.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
So they have
yeah.
NIL departments, but then there are other institutions that have something that they're calling collectives.
Okay.
And,
Oh, yeah. My
so
husband told me about
Nebraska
this. Yeah.
and Utah were two of the first that I know of off the top of my head that
Okay.
had a collective. So as a university, they created the NIL collective that allowed all athletes to benefit from an NIL situation.
Okay.
You're now seeing a lot more of these collectives. So a lot of universities are having these literally NIL departments that are helping these kids get brand deals and get other stuff. So it's becoming more on the university more and more than it
There's
was.
so much. I think in
It's-
20 years from now, it will look back and say, like, I can't believe you were able to be able to do that back then, or
Yeah.
because there's a lot of, just in social media in general, like, so much that is rapidly changing, but also it's like, but 20 years ago, you would look at an ad and it had to be approved, and it was
Mm-hmm.
part of a huge company, and they had certain rules, and now there's like so few.
Now there's lawyers, agents, and everybody's involved.
Yeah,
And the problem is you have parents who are looking at, the younger the next generation behind us are looking at it as this is going to be the norm.
Right.
So not only is my kid going to go to school, I want my kid to go to school for free. Now I want my kid to go to school for free and get paid.
Right.
Like it's evolving.
Yeah. Wild.
Like
It's
in my day,
crazy.
it was if you got a little bit of money, you celebrated.
Yeah.
Now it's like that's it.
Right.
What else are you giving me?
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I could ask about this forever.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so Head Over Heels.
Yes.
I'm sure you have lots of fall programs coming up.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
We actually just launched our fall schedules across all 4 facilities. We have, like I said, in our HOH2, our little boutique gym in Shrewsbury, that's 6 month to 6 year olds. We have classes, and the beautiful thing about that location is we can do preschool classes all day and evening, which we really can't do in our Middletown location, which is its sister facility, because at Middletown at night we have all the school age kids, the competitive kids. There's just not enough room to do everybody. So that's a great satellite for us. We offer ninja and preschool gymnastics in that facility, and birthday parties are coming. We are prepping that area to start parties in the fall. We've had so many people asking for them, but like we just weren't ready yet, and we didn't want to deliver a product that wasn't to our standard.
Okay.
So it's coming. I guarantee it by the fall. And then the other facilities, Parlin and Middletown, we have, like I said, we have the dance studios there that offer recreational and performance group, whether it's tap, jazz, ballet. We're launching this whole new TikTok dance programs where they're doing all like the popular TikTok stuff.
Choreographed things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's fun.
So it's like what's popular, and then also creating our own stuff that we want to, make popular within our own world. So that's some of the new dance stuff that we have. We also have hybrid programs like that are dance and gymnastics based, or dance and ninja gymnastics. So we do like fusion programs.
Okay.
So that way, maybe you want your kid to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Not just commit to one or the other. So we have those. We run day programs, evenings, Saturdays, parties, special events. I know you guys have come to several of our special events.
Yep.
Those have become wildly popular. We've got some new things that we're doing at HOH2. We're doing story time and gym, and we also have like dance party and gym. So we're doing like gym and music kind of stuff. But yeah, as far as like programs, ninja is probably the most popular thing that we have at this point because it's new and everybody's like they're gravitating towards it.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Our advanced program is for the kids who are, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old, and they still love coming to gymnastics recreational. Like we've revamped our advanced program to make it even more challenging for them.
Okay.
And we have some new cool things coming there. I was told I was not allowed to say anything about it yet, but something cool is coming for the advanced program.
Cool.
Hopefully we'll be ready to launch that, early 2026.
Okay.
And it's all about providing what these customers are asking for.
Yeah.
They still want to be challenged, but we can't lose sight of the fun. Like we are in the kids enhancement industry. Like we are, we're kids physical entertainment center. but it has to be structured and it still has to be fun.
Yeah, fun,
You know?
but also, is enriching and something that is going to, help them grow and
Right.
thrive, right?
It's the holistic approach. It's
Right.
not just teaching cartwheels.
Right.
That was gymnastics in the 80s and the 90s. We feel we're pushing the envelope forward, and we want it to be more focused on fun, safety, but still have that core curriculum at its soul, which is what gymnastics is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
kids don't. They want to have fun. They learn differently now than they used to,
Okay.
and we're adapting to that.
Okay. I love that. I've learned so much today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So this fall, you can look for all kinds of programs and things happening at Head Over Heels
Yep.
Gym, and you'll also be at Kidchella.
We will be at Kidchella. My crew is so excited for that. The minute we saw you promote that, I was like, all right, what are we doing? How are we going to, knock this one out of the park?
A lot of my partners were like, why didn't we talk about this in January when we do our annual
Yeah.
or whatever? And I'm like, because I just thought of it.
Yeah, no, my
no idea I was
my
doing
marketing people, Amanda and her whole team have been like, Kidchella, like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like they've been going crazy over this, so we can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited too. We're in just under 2 weeks away, and it'll be a nice end of summer bash, right?
Absolutely.
Kick off the fall.
We're actually launching. Well, we just launched quietly, and I know you alluded to it before, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say it. We do have now a fully functional program for special needs children.
Oh, wow.
And they are going to have a presence at Kidchella as well.
That's
so it's HOH Thrive. So it's basically occupational therapy based gymnastics facility. So my wife, who's an occupational therapist for 25 years, she works with that population. And we have another therapist that works with us. Her name is Carly, former gymnast. So they basically use the gymnastics facility to do things for that population. And it's been very great launch quietly. Now we're ready to fully go on. So they're going to have a presence at Kidchella.
Wow.
Whether it's, children with autism, Down syndrome, and a variety of disabilities within that spectrum, they are just having a great time with it.
Okay.
And the parents have just been like, oh my God, this is great. So we're excited to do even more for that.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Okay. If you would like to learn more about your programs, activities, where can moms find you?
They can find us on any social media site using HOHGYMNJ, whether it's .com, on Instagram, on Facebook. We have an amazingly fun TikTok account,
Yep.
which my son runs. Where else are we? So we do the big ones there. But yeah, HOHGymNJ.com, and that'll take you anywhere you want to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and hope to have you on soon.
I appreciate it, Kate. Thank you so much.